We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With AllTrails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today and make the most of your summer with AllTrails.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Enton in for Ashleigh tonight. It's Thursday night. We are live. It's a busy night of crime news. And if you watch the show, you know that we always try to be victim focused on the show. With so many of the crimes that we cover, it really is difficult when you talk to the families. But remembering the victims and giving their families a voice is more important than anything else. And we're going to have one of those difficult conversations tonight. We told you last night about the sentencing of Nikolai Mew, convicted of stabbing a group of teenagers to death on the Apple River. They were brutal stabbings, all caught on camera. He claimed self-defense, and he was sentenced to 20 years behind bars. That happened yesterday. One of those teens sadly died. His name is Isaac Schumann. You see him right there. Isaac's parents, they will join me live tonight. They are not happy with the sentencing. They are not happy with what that man said in court, and they say that they are not happy about the judge and his decision either. And they are going to share why they are so angry tonight and also who their wonderful son was. That interview is coming up in just a minute. Also tonight, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I remember when I first saw that documentary years ago. Who would have thought the story would have taken so many twists and turns? She's now out of prison. She's pregnant. She's left her husband. She's now got this new boyfriend. There's been a lot of sympathy for her, and rightly so. I mean, the girl literally went through hell. She had the psychotic, abusive mother, Dee Dee. Dee Dee was a terrible mom. But there are some new crime scene photos that have now surfaced, and they have gone viral online. They're all over X, if you haven't noticed, and they have changed some people's opinions when it comes to Gypsy. Now, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. Like I said, Gypsy is clearly a victim. There's one of the photos right there. You can see the blood-stained mattress. Some of the stuff we'd never seen until recently. It was released now that she's out. But the photos are graphic. There's some that we just can't show. I mean, you can see Dee Dee dead, and she was stabbed over and over again. So Gypsy had a lot of sympathy. Now some people, after seeing these photos, they're asking a lot of new questions. We're going to show you all the photos that we can. Again, there's some that we just can't show. But we're going to show you most of them. We're going to discuss it all. That's coming up later in the hour. And also later, the curse of the Power Rangers. It might sound like the title of a kid's movie, but some people think it is very real and a very scary thing. Remember that show, Power Rangers? It was around when I was a kid. More than a dozen former cast members of the show have either died young or they've had run-ins with the law, including now Hector David Jr. He was the Green Ranger. Well, police issued a warrant for his arrest yesterday. I'm going to show you the video of his alleged crime and get an update on the search from the the deputy chief on the case. We have got him live here tonight. But we begin tonight with the reaction to yesterday's sentencing of a Wisconsin man, Nikolai Mew, for the death of 17-year-old Isaac Schumann. Mew attacked Isaac with four others with a knife on the banks of the Apple River during a tubing trip in the summer of 2022. Now, Mew claimed that the confrontation began because he was searching for his friend's lost cell phone, and he says when he encountered the group of young people on the river, who he says had been drinking heavily, that they were immediately hostile. Now, if you joined us last night, you saw the cell phone video. It's awful, pure chaos, screaming. It ended with so much blood in the water that the river turned red. It is so disturbing to watch. Isaac would not survive that day, and another young man was so badly hurt that he spent the next 27 days in the hospital. Now, tonight, we're not going to show you the full video right now, and it really does give context to what happened, but we're not going to show it at this moment out of respect for Isaac's family, who is going to join me live in a moment. Now, Mew claimed that the stabbings were in self-defense, but of course, we know a jury saw it very differently, convicting Mew of reckless homicide and battery and also recklessly endangering safety. The judge handed down a sentence of 20 years for the fatal stabbing, and then 5 years for each of the now non-fatal stabbings to be served concurrently. That was a win from you, concurrently. So it was just a total of 20 years. Keep in mind, he faced like 100 years. So got 20 years, but he was facing 100. The judge said Mew is more than just what happened that fateful day on the river. Take a listen.
Other than his conduct on July 30, Mr. Mew appears to be a quiet, nonviolent, peaceful man. He's never been in trouble before. He is loved by his family and friends. He's generous with his time. He helps others who are less fortunate or who are in need. Mr. Mew is respected in his community. Several of his personal friends and co-workers submitted letters that describe his character. Those letters were not shared in court today, but some of the most common words they use to describe Mr. Mew are kind, compassionate, friendly, loyal, respectful, and honest.
All right, so it's easy to understand why a family that will never see their loved one again might find that sentiment unacceptable. They had to sit in court and listen to all of that. And joining me now in an exclusive interview is Isaac's parents, Alina and Donnie Hernandez, with their reaction. I really appreciate you both coming on the show tonight. Our hearts go out to you. It's such a tragedy. It's been tragic to cover. I can't even imagine what this loss is like for you. Alina, I just want to start with you. How did you feel yesterday when you heard the sentence of 20 years?
Shocked, disappointed, upset, just shocked. It didn't make sense to any of us. It was almost like there was no justice for any of the other victims. They weren't even really recognized. He got 20 years basically for Isaac and then nothing for the other victims. And our Isaac's life is gone forever, and he's going to now do 18 more years. And we really thought it was a very unjust sentence. And many in our community, hundreds of people have reached out to us and can't believe it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of comments online too, Alina, from people who were shocked that thought that he would get a harsher penalty. Donnie, I'm curious. I mean, the judge it sort of seemed like he went out of his way to say what a good person Mew was, in a sense. I mean, did that come as a surprise to you? Were you all expecting that?
No, it definitely was a big surprise for us. It felt like he, was a sponsor, like talking about him coming to this country and all the wonderful things he's done. And it was talked about him more than he talked about Isaac. It was, like I said, like my wife said, it was just shocking to hear him go on and on about Mew and all of his accomplishments and, coming from Romania, coming to America for asylum and becoming a U.S. citizen and, how educated he was. And it was a slap in the face.
It was nauseating.
Alina, there was a point where Mew apologized to you for what happened. I mean, did you find that to be genuine? Do you think he meant it?
No. It was very hollow. It was very self-serving. He didn't really even shed tears. His fake tear shedding was because he's going to prison. And it was very self-serving and didn't mean a thing.
I just keep saying...
He's never had any remorse until he found out
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
He was going to prison. So, no, it didn't mean... It's okay. He kept trying to look at me, and I just looked away, and I was not interested in anything he had to say.
We keep seeing that photo of Isaac, and the smile, I mean, you can see what a vibrant young man he was. You know, many of us have been out tubing on rivers, on streams. I mean, it's such a great time. You do that when you're a kid. You do that when you get older. I was just thinking of what a good time the kids were having. I mean, tell me a little bit about Isaac, Alina. You know, we focus so much on the suspect and what happened in the trial, but tell us about your boy.
Isaac is a great kid. He was a great kid. He was kind, he was sensitive, he was helpful, he was talented, he was smart, he was an academic achievement award winner, he loved music, he played the piano, the cello, he DJ'd, he owned his own business, he owned his own mobile car detailing and boat detailing business, he worked down on the marinas. He was just an agreeable kid and sweet and sensitive, and I miss everything about him. You know, he wanted to go to college to be an engineer and be an entrepreneur, and he had a lot of dreams, and he was really driven and really focused, and I still can't believe it every day.
Were you there, Alina? I mean, I haven't heard that part of the story. I mean, were you close by when this happened, or how did you find out about it?
Yes, that morning, Isaac had said that he was going to golf with his friend, and I said, okay. You know, he golfed. We live on a golf course. He golfed regularly, and I was on the deck having coffee with my sister-in-law, and he came out and said that his plans changed because Caleb had to work, and that he was going to go. Some of the guys were going to the Apple River tubing. And I hesitated a little bit. And he said, why? And I said, well, Dad got a flight home and he needs to be picked up at the airport. And he said, I'll pick Dad up from the airport. And it was a beautiful July day, and I just said, no, I'll get it figured out. We'll figure it out. So you just go have fun with your friends on the river. So I regret that every day. Went downtown Stillwater to have lunch with my sister-in-law, and waited for my husband to meet us there. And as my husband was pulling up, I got a phone call from one of the boys that was with him, and Owen was screaming that Isaac had been stabbed and that I needed to get to the Apple River right away, and it was about 10 miles away from where we were. So I went running out of the restaurant, and my husband had just was just pulling up to park, and he could see that I was frantically running, and jumped out of the car and said, what's wrong? I said, we need to go. We need to get to the Apple River, and they sent us a pin drop, and we got there within, 10 or 15 minutes, and when I got there, we followed the ambulances. There were helicopters, ambulances, and I climbed into one of the ambulances, the first one, the closest one to me, thinking that it was Isaac. And I looked and realized it wasn't Isaac, and so I climbed back out, and then I looked down at the riverbank and all the chaos and all the people, and I noticed Isaac's hair and his swim trunks, and they were performing CPR on him. And so I ran down to him, and I just screamed that he would be, I just said, Isaac, come back. You'll be okay. I was rubbing his feet, his right foot, and so yeah, I was there that day, or I got there that day.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you were there when all of that was happening like that. I can't even imagine. I mean, just seeing the video and the reaction that his friends had when they were saying Isaac, Isaac, and you could tell that they were in disbelief. I didn't realize that you also had to witness the aftermath of all of that. I just want to finish by asking you, Alina, about the Scholarship Foundation. I think that's important. It's a way, obviously, that Isaac can live on. Tell us a little bit about that.
We started the scholarship, the foundation, to keep Isaac's spirit alive and to honor him. And it is for the youth that have aspirations and dreams and like-minded ideas like Isaac did. And it's also to help the youth with mental health resources and financial needs. Last year we gave out 6 scholarships. This year we have an annual event that we're having our second annual event, golf event, in Isaac's name for his foundation to raise money. And it's the Isaac Schumann Foundation.org. And you can see it on the website. It's to keep his spirit alive, and talking about him every day is helpful to us.
Well, our heart goes out to you, both of you, Alina and Donnie. We appreciate you coming on tonight. I'm sorry for everything that you've been through, and we really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you heard her mention that the family is honoring Isaac's memory by providing scholarships to motivate youths. You can visit www.forisaacsschumannfoundation.org for more information and to donate. And again, I want to remind our viewers that Mew was convicted for reckless homicide, that the jury found Isaac's death to be unintentional. And when you see the shocking video on the river, it helps you understand why the reactions are so divided. And we didn't want to play this before the interview because obviously Isaac's parents don't want to see this over and over again. But I do think it's important for people to see the full video, especially if you haven't been following the story, because it just gives you the context about what happened. So reminder that this is disturbing, but we do want to play it.
Who is that? Who the hell is this? Doesn't matter. He said he was looking for little girl. He said he was looking for little girl. You're looking for little girl? Yeah. That's exactly what he said. We're us out. I even have that part on camera. Young ass kid. What the is that problem, bro? We're trying to have fun. If he's gonna claim you, he's gonna claim you. We don't want this. He hit a woman? He hit a woman? You don't hit a woman. He hit a woman. You hit him. What the f***? What the f***? He's dying, bro. What? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Are you serious? Is it real? Oh my God! Who is that? Oh my God! Oh my God! Is it real? Is it real? Oh my God! Oh my God! What the fuck? Is this real? Hey, that's not bike! That's not bike! That's not bike! Mike! That's not Isaac! Oh my God! Oh my God! This isn't real! This isn't real!
It really is just awful. A lot of people questioning whether the judge made the right call. For that, I turn to Mark Eiglarsh. He's a criminal defense attorney and former county prosecutor. It's always nice to see you, Mark. What do you make of the sentence? I mean, he was facing 100 years, ended up with 20. What's your take?
Well, first of all, I'm not jumping in to give my opinion without first sending my love and condolences to all the families, especially the parents of Isaac. I have 3 children, and they're living my worst nightmare. My youngest son reminds me of Isaac's around the same age, and I probably would want the maximum sentence and certainly wouldn't want to hear about the good deeds of the person that terminated his life. So I share the frustration and emotion with them. Now, that said, I also watched the full sentencing, and the judge had a very difficult job. He had to consider both the aggravating circumstances, and there are many, the fact that he terminated a teenager's life, that he walked away and didn't help and render aid. The list goes on and on of the aggravators. But the judge also had to consider the mitigators. Did he have a prior record? Is he a danger to the community? Is he someone who took from society or gave to society in his many decades in life? And the judge read all the letters, and he looked at all the mitigators, and he had to balance that. He also had to consider that he was not convicted of intentional first-degree murder, but a lesser included, albeit a very serious offense, of reckless murder. And thus the sentence had to reflect both the severity of what he did and the fact that there are mitigating factors that the judge became aware of.
I guess, Mark, when I hear self-defense, though, when you watch the video and talk to some of the witnesses, they say that Mew instigated it. I mean, that he could have just walked away.
Right.
Can you really say self-defense when you're instigating something? I mean, that's the part that doesn't add up to me.
I can say you're Ashleigh Banfield. It doesn't make it factual. So the jurors rejected what they claimed. The jurors out and out said this is not self-defense. You committed a crime and you are now a convicted felon. And the judge absolutely thought it was very severe. His words were very clear, thoughtful, deliberate in saying exactly what this guy did and what he didn't do. And with that, came up with a sentence that kind of puts him in the same ballpark, for the most part, of those convicted of the same offense.
Yeah, it's just so brutal, though. I mean, to stab all those kids, it's awful. Mark Eiglarsh, it's nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate you helping us understand. Okay, coming up next, I'm curious to know if your opinion of Gypsy Rose Blanchard has changed in the months since she left prison. And here's why. The official crime scene pictures from the murder of Gypsy Rose's mother, they are going around the internet again with a couple that haven't been widely circulated before. Maybe you've seen them. Do we need to be reminded sometimes of why Gypsy Rose is a famous or now infamous person? I've got those crime scene photos. We're going to discuss it. That's next. Process this story tonight is going to depend 100% on how you already feel about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Unless you've been under a rock, you obviously know Gypsy. She is the woman who spent more than 7 years in prison for her role in the horrific murder of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. And tonight, attitude about Gypsy has changed with quite a few people after they saw newly released crime scene photos, which we're going to go through with you in a minute. Now, Gypsy Rose, according to her and her attorney, was herself the victim of abuse her entire life at the hands of her mother. It's awful what happened to her. She was forced into a wheelchair. She was forced to endure medical procedures. Even though she was perfectly healthy, none of it was necessary. Her mom made this whole big scheme up. Now, Gypsy Rose, many people argue, was innocent, that she was an innocent prisoner of her mother's severe mental illness. In 2015, Gypsy and her boyfriend allegedly plotted to kill Dee Dee Blanchard, and police found Gypsy Rose's mother dead in her bed. She was stabbed 17 times. Gypsy Rose's boyfriend got life in prison without parole, and Gypsy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and she got 10 years. She ended up only serving 7 years. And in the 6 months since she left prison, It's been quite a time. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has been a media darling. There's been press conferences with the man she married in prison. There was a primetime television show, Red Carpet. She's been on the red carpet. She's got 10 million followers on TikTok. There's already one reality show about her running right now, and if you don't follow her chaotic day-to-day life, you may have missed her big announcement just a couple of weeks ago.
Hi, everybody. So I know the rumors have been flying around for quite some time now, and I'm happy to announce that I am 11 weeks pregnant. Ken and I are expecting our very first child come January of 2025. We're both very excited. This was not planned at all. It was completely unexpected.
Look at that. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is about to be a mother, not with her estranged husband, but with her boyfriend, Ken. It would take a long time to explain everything that Gypsy Rose has been doing since she left prison, but I want to bring in Gigi McKelvey. You know her from her podcast and YouTube channel, Pretty Lies and Alibis. Gigi is the best. I'm curious what you think, Gigi, because I've got, a lot of my friends are split on this, and obviously, you can't help but feel bad for Gypsy Rose if you watch the documentary. But there's others that are like, well, is she kind of manipulative? Is she manipulating the situation? What do you think?
It's such a convoluted story, Brian, like you say. I mean, I feel so bad for what she endured in her childhood. At the same time, I mean, this kind of scandal, I guess you could say, with the release of these photos is unlike most scandals we see of people in the spotlight where there's a premeditated murder. And she went on the stand at her boyfriend's trial and admitted to giving him the knife, the gloves, the duct tape, and hid in the bathroom when it happened. So it's definitely interesting to see the tide sort of shifting a bit online with the release of these crime scene photos that people largely haven't seen until now. Yeah,
I want to put the pictures up and kind of go through them with you, Gigi. And again, there's some that we just cannot show. But if we could put the photos up, there's some I saw that were of the medicine closet where you could see all the pharmaceutical items that they had. But this was really the bad one. I mean, this is the blood that Dee Dee, the bed that Dee Dee was in, and then all the blood stains. And I think it's like you see, there's a lot of blood. You see Gypsy now and you feel for her, but you do sometimes kind of forget what happened here, how this whole thing started.
Yeah, and I think, with the TikTok, 10 million followers is huge, and she had a lot before she was even released. I think people watched some of these documentaries and didn't really have a good grasp of the brutality of the murder and the premeditation. And so that's new news to a lot of people who have followed her just since her release. A lot of us have followed this story for years. So it was a brutal murder. Again, you have so many people who excuse it because of everything that this young woman was put through, really from the day she was born. It's just horrific, Brian. I don't know that there's a right answer in this.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it's you can't really come out with one way of thinking about it. It's complicated. But I've noticed since these photos came out, there are a lot of people questioning, the boyfriend. Should he really be behind bars for life when Gypsy got out after 7 years? I mean, what do your followers say? Are people talking about that?
Yeah, there are a lot of people that actually feel really sorry for Nicholas. My understanding is that she kind of talked him into it. Yeah. And bought his bus fare to come down to do it. I think that it was a perfect storm. I think he was enamored with Gypsy and would do anything, and maybe felt like he was her only hope at the same time to see these photos. And I do not recommend you seek them out. You cannot unsee them. They're very brutal. What happened to Dee Dee was just, it was horrific. So there is sympathy for Nicholas, but on the other hand, people are saying, would you want him walking the streets after what he did?
Yeah. The one photo of Dee Dee in the bed, again, don't seek it out, but it's really, really awful. Gigi, it's always nice to see you. I hope I get to see you in person soon, and we won't talk about horrific crime scene photos. We can just have a good time like we always do. So good seeing you tonight, Gigi.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, still to come, the Green Ranger is a wanted man, Hector David Jr., who starred on the popular kids show Power Rangers for 4 years. Is accused of shoving an elderly man to the ground in a parking lot. Police have released the surveillance video. They've even issued an arrest warrant for the Power Ranger. God, all these Power Rangers are in trouble. One of my best friends just texted me, my kid loves the Power Rangers. Well, we're going to have the deputy chief leading the investigation joining me live next. Strange coincidence. Others say there is something more sinister going on, and I'm talking about the curse of the Power Rangers. The fact that so many former cast members of the hit kids show have had their lives end disastrously, and in many cases tragically. More than a dozen of the show's actors have died before the age of 50 from cancer, heart attacks, car crashes. There's been suicides. Recently, multiple actors have even had run-ins with the law. And the latest is Hector David Jr., who played the Green Ranger from 2011 to 2015. Yesterday, a warrant was issued for his arrest for allegedly assaulting an elderly man in a parking lot of a store. It's on video. This video was recorded on Saturday in Nampa, Idaho. Look at that. Gosh, I'm just getting a better look at it. You see the man believed to be Hector David Jr. shove a man with a walker and berate him before suddenly driving off. There it is. God, the guy's in the walker and oh my gosh. After the incident, police posted this photo and asked for the public's help identifying him. And of course, a bunch of people said, I think that's the Green Power Ranger. They recognized the guy right away. In May 2022, Jason Geiger, who played the Red Ranger in the 90s, was charged with wire fraud. In 2017, Ricardo Medina, who played the Red Ranger in 2002, was sentenced to 6 years for killing his roommate with a sword. I want to bring in now Kurt Schenkel, the deputy chief of the Nampa Police Department, which issued the arrest warrant for Hector David Jr. Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Schenkel. First of all, the video is awful, by the way. I mean, the way he pushes that old man down. Do you have any idea where he is? Can you give us an update on the investigation?
Sure, and thanks for having me tonight. We do not know where Hector is at this point. We've been unable to locate him. We're not sure if he's still in the area or not.
How is the elderly man doing? Because, I mean, it looked like you went down pretty hard there.
He did. He is doing well. He did see his doctor. He had some soft tissue damage and bruising to his knee, but he is recovering nicely. He is doing okay.
In terms of it being a Power Ranger, and you heard us go through the long list of all the issues the Power Rangers have had, I mean, at what point did you realize, like, oh, this guy is actually a Power Ranger?
It took a little time. We put this out on social media, and we just were inundated with responses, with people telling us who they believed this was. And it was just during that research that we found out he was the Green Power Ranger.
So bizarre. Do you know, does he live in Idaho, or do you know what the connection to the area is?
We do have an address we believe he may be staying at. I'm not sure if he actually has a full-time residency here or not. He does know people in our community, but I don't know that if he has a full-time residency here or if he was just here visiting.
And what about the video? Where did the video come from?
So that video was actually a dash cam in one of the vehicles in a parking lot that caught this. So it was just by chance that we actually ended up with the video. Luckily, it was on the dash cam. So when, Hector was parked in a handicap stall and the victim approached him explaining that these parking spots were for individuals with disabilities, such as his. The victim is a veteran, and he had some difficulty walking, and that's why he was using the walker. And it was during that interaction that Hector ended up pushing him to the ground, where he sustained the minor injury.
Yeah, I mean, to see the video again I'm just watching it now, you can see it too, of him pushing the older man down. I mean, that's a really terrible person to do that. I mean, you see a lot of crime, but when you see someone just hurting an elderly person, I always think with children or with elderly people, it's disturbing to see.
It is. I agree. Watching this where he pushes him to the ground, and then I don't know exactly what was said, but it was described that he was berating him and yelling at him. And then just to get in the car and drive away with no decency to see if he was okay or how bad those injuries were, and just to leave him laying there was really a horrible thing.
Do you know what charges will he face when you finally catch him?
Yeah, so we did get a warrant for his arrest. It's for a misdemeanor battery. So we do have that now if we're able to locate him.
Well, listen, I have confidence in you guys. I think everybody who sees that video is hoping you'll find him soon. We're trying to help get the word out. The picture, maybe we can put the picture up again of this real jerk. I mean, what an awful man to do that. And hopefully you guys will be able to track him down. Deputy Chief Kurt Schenkel, we really appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing the story.
Okay, still to come, Donald Trump's would-be assassin before the shooting. Thomas Crooks, we've been covering this all week. We've been digging every day. He's been described as a loner who was bullied when he was in high school. But is that the whole truth? Who really is this guy? It's still so much of a mystery. We haven't heard very much. Well, tonight we've got an interview with Crooks' high school guidance counselor, shares what he remembers about him, what stood out about him, whether he's surprised by all of this. That's coming up next.
It's like a good sister and get me some more buffalo wings.
On second thought, I'm gonna be a director. Let's try a scene where you go get your own.
Can we get some more lemon pepper wings in this scene?
Ooh, and honey teriyaki too.
Ooh, good note.
Have your people call my people.
What makes a person attempt an assassination? What makes someone buy a gun, drive to a rally, and open fire on a crowd while trying to kill a former president, especially someone who's only 20 years old? 19 days after Thomas Crooks tried to kill former President Donald Trump, investigators are still trying to answer those questions. Had Crooks been radicalized? Did he have some kind of mental health issue? Was he being bullied? We still do not have an official motive. There hasn't been a lot of information. But one person who knew Crooks before the shooting was his high school guidance counselor, a man named Jim Knapp. And Knapp spoke to NewsNation correspondent Rich McHugh this week. Here's some of what he said.
Well, basically what I saw was a young man who was a typical high school teenager. He was a quiet fella. He stayed to himself, but he had a handful of friends. And it really was a kid who really just wanted to go through high school, get through high school, and graduate. He really decided to go into a career like computers, and he went to our local community college, and he finished up a 2-year degree there. And this fall, from what I understand, he was going to be going to Robert Morris University in computers. Last time I saw him was at graduation, and again, today, to this day, I thought he was a quiet young man who just went along about his business.
So you say quiet. You obviously had him as a guidance counselor.
Correct.
In those meetings, was there anything that would be an alarm bell for somebody in your position?
Right. Rich, I'm going to be honest with you, no, it was not. Because he was just a kid who would come in, he would answer my questions, he would give me good eye contact, and he would have a conversation with me. It wasn't like I had to scream, yell, or talk to him. He was just a normal, typical teenage young man.
Students have said that Thomas Crooks was bullied in school.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see or hear any of that?
None whatsoever. And that's really what got me, because a lot of people were coming out saying he was bullied. And I really thought long and hard about that. And I know, for example, if a kid was bullied, we have an anonymous tip hotline in Pennsylvania where you call in and you let people know. So anybody could have called in and said, this young man's getting bullied. He could have called in and said that. As the administration would have gotten on top of that right away. Bethel Park was really good about that, their high school administration. As a guidance counselor, I would have been out there talking with him, having him come in talking to me, his classmates, his teachers. And I can honestly tell you, I did not see any of that bullying. There was a video that was going around from another kid who they were touching his leg, and he was saying, leave me alone. That could have been considered bullying in that respect, but I did not see any other type of bullying.
When was that?
I think that might have been in 9th and 10th grade.
And did he ever talk to you about it?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I would go down into the cafeteria, and I would see kids who were down there sitting by themselves. Thomas was there for 1 year like that because he didn't have his friends group there.
Sitting by himself?
By himself, eating lunch. And I would go up to him and say, Thomas, would you like me to sit here, talk to you? Would you like me to get you somebody? And as a former basketball coach, my players would come over. And then I would walk away. But Thomas just wanted to be pretty much by himself.
So what do you think happened here?
I really think what happened, Rich, was evil struck the world. This young man, 2 years removed from high school, I really believe that something snapped. I believe that evil got him. And I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I'm really into the religious scene now, and I believe prayer. I believe prayer in the community. I believe prayer in the schools. I believe prayer everywhere, including the home. And I think that's where we really need to get to, because evil got to this young man, snapped something in his head, and this is where we're at today.
What we still don't know is exactly what caused him to snap, which we're still digging into. Obviously, the FBI is looking into it. Our thanks to Rich McHugh for that interview. We'll continue to keep digging. All right, still to come tonight, Netflix comes clean about their wildly popular hit show, Baby Reindeer. Netflix put it out there as a true story, but a woman who says Baby Reindeer is all about her says they got some major facts wrong. She's now lawyered up. I'll tell you how Netflix is trying to navigate some tricky legal waters. There's a new development to this. They're admitting they screwed up. We'll tell you about it next. Series Baby Reindeer on Netflix, then you are in a huge club. I've seen it. It's pretty good. According to Variety magazine earlier this year, Baby Reindeer became the 10th most watched English language series in Netflix history, and it's nominated for 11 Emmy Awards. Think about that. That is just a massive audience. If you haven't seen it yet, here's a little clip.
I'm really worried here. You can't let her affect us like this.
It's not her affecting us, it's you. I miss you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my stalker. Say hello to Mark.
Don't you say that to me! Apologize to me right now!
Can't take my mom anywhere.
Yeah, there's this whole debate now about whether it's true, but regardless, it really was good. Like, it was one of those I just binged and couldn't stop. The series is about a British bartender and comedian who has an interesting relationship with a persistent woman. Don't want to spoil the rest for you, but the problem is Netflix marketed Baby Reindeer. They said it was a true story. And in the show, the woman at the heart of the story is convicted and sent to prison. Now, that did not sit well with the actual real-life person the stalker character is allegedly based on, who has now sued Netflix for defamation. She calls the claims made about her and Baby Reindeer the biggest lie in TV history, and turns out the woman wasn't convicted at all or sent to jail. She was only issued a court order. Well, now Netflix executives have admitted that they were wrong in promising that the show was a true story. No word yet on how that impacts the defamation lawsuit, which is reportedly to the tune of $170 million. Wow. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night. Have a good one. Cuomo's next.
Today we're bringing home Paul, Evan, Alsu, Vladimir. 3 American citizens and 1 American green card holder. All 4 have been imprisoned unjustly in Russia. Paul for nearly 6 years.
About time. That was President Biden telling the world 4 American prisoners, there are still more, being held in Russia, but these 4 are coming home. Some have been there way too long. I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you very much for joining me here at NewsNation. We're going to have more on the breaking news, deep coverage about how it happened, what it means for the state of play with Russia and this election. But Trump's reaction to these people being returned was negative. He wants you to think it was a bad deal.